Sige, brother. Thank you. Yeah, come on. Where are you going? Where are you going?
It was my oldest daughter who answered the phone, and from the sound of her voice, I knew it wasn't something good. There was a shot in the airport, and that they heard that maybe Dad was shot. What did I know about being president, and how does one challenge a dictator who has been in power for 20 years? I went into one day's prayer in a convent near here, and in my prayer I kept saying, "Dear Lord, let it be somebody else." And I was thinking of all the others who could possibly be it, and in the end, I finally had to accept that, yes, it had to be me. And I guess I must be the only presidential candidate who announces with tears,
Cory, the reluctant politician, was persuaded to run.
De fleste historiske begivenheder er startet med et menneske, der har truffet et valg. Et menneske, der på den måde har været med til at forme verden, som vi kender den i dag. Men hvorfor kom netop disse mennesker til at skabe historier, og hvordan træffede de deres mest afgørende beslutninger? Corazon Aquino var en helt almindelig husmor, da hun gik ind i frihedskampen i sit hjemland Filippinerne. Hendes mand var lige blevet myrdet, og hun var alene med sine 4 børn. Alligevel lykkedes det hende at styrte en brutal diktator og blive sit lands første demokratisk valgte præsident. Her er hendes historie. Filippinerne er et vidt forgrenet ørige i Stillehavet. Her er spændinger mellem rig og fattig, mellem regeringen og løsrivelsesbevægelser. Men landet med de 75 millioner indbyggere er ikke længere et diktatur. Det er et demokrati, og det skyldes først og fremmest én kvinde.
Her i hovedstaden Manila bor Corazon Aquino. Hello, sir. We're here to see Mrs. Corazon Aquino. Thank you very much. I hele den første halvdel af hendes liv var der ikke noget, der tydede på, at hun skulle komme til at spille en stor rolle i historiebøgerne. Men en augustdag i 1983 blev skæbnesvanger både for Corazon Aquino og for Filippinerne.
Hello.
"Hello, Stefan. Welcome to my home."
Thank you very much, Mrs. Aquino. You've chosen this place, your home, as the location for the interview. Why is that?
Well, so many important and meaningful events have taken place here. I've lived here since 1961, and then after my husband's assassination, his remains were brought here, and this is where the people came to view his remains and to pay their last respects. It was drizzling when I arrived here, and I was just so amazed to see all these people just lining up with umbrellas. And then I had requested that if my children and I could be given 15 minutes without anybody else in the room, because we wanted to make our final goodbyes in private. My mother-in-law had said, just don't do anything to his face and just leave him the way we found him, because we want the people to know what the dictatorship has done to her son, to my husband.
Once you get up to the coffin, you make a promise to your husband.
Yeah.
Would you remember what you're saying to him?
Well, I said that because there was a battle cry before, like the words "Ituloy ang laban," continue the fight to restore democracy. So I said I would continue the fight.
You made that promise.
Yes, I did.
Why did you do that? You
Well,
were not a politician at that time.
I felt I had to do something. I mean, I couldn't just let him die in vain. And he did his part. He was no longer in this world, so I felt I should also do that.
Da Corazon Aquinos mand bliver skudt, har diktatoren Ferdinand Marcos holdt Filippinerne i et jerngreb i 20 år. Støttet af USA kontrollerer han alt. Militær, politi, medier. Selv længden på kvinders hår og kjoler bliver dikteret af Marcos. Men den brutale nedskydning af Ninoy Aquino bliver begyndelsen til enden. Mordet sætter gang i en nærmest usandsynlig kædereaktion, der bringer en tyran til fald og en enke og husmor til magten. How did you meet your husband, Benigno?
Both of us come from the province of Tarlac, and both of us come from political families. My husband's father was congressman of the 2nd District of Tarlac Province, and my father was congressman of the 1st District. So it was inevitable that we would meet.
How would you describe his personality?
Oh, he was an extrovert. He loved people, and he enjoyed crowds, and he loved to be in the public eye. So we were so different. I loved my privacy, and I was happy enough taking care of our children, and I would help in the campaign.
So what kind of future did you imagine for yourself in those years?
I really was determined to bring up 5 good children who would be responsible citizens, and I felt my husband was doing enough for the country, and somebody had to stay at home and make sure that our children got the necessary attention and also got the proper direction. Because as you probably know, children of politicians really have a difficult life also, especially if they don't have access to either parent. And I was determined that would not happen to my children. Also, I felt I would be judged later on when I die. God will not ask me if I were a good politician or what, but he'd ask me, so how did you bring up your 5 children?
Ninoy Aquino er et lysende politisk talent. Mens Corazon bliver hjemme og passer parrets børn, så vokser hans politiske indflydelse, og han er snart den vigtigste udfordrer til Marcos.
There is the threat, or there is invasion, insurrection, rebellion, or imminent danger thereof.
I 1972 erklærer Marcos landet i undtagelsestilstand. Han knuser den spirende opposition ved at sende alle sine politiske modstandere i fængsel. Blandt dem Corazon Aquinos mand.
After midnight, when he called, he said he was on his way to Camp Crame, which is the